feel like those clouds over there are a lot like greater contrast than what's showing up on the camera, and obviously the camera keeps adjusting lighting, so you can't really see it properly, but it's really cool. I'm in Denver, Colorado right now. Kind of some initial thoughts. It feels like a mix between New York City and Orlando, and it's not comparable to either of them really, but like I'm getting vibes from both of them. And the thing that, like, there's roads that are similar to both of them. I would say the New York vibes is just like the feeling you get from the people around you, and it's not like New York hospitality, which is different, but just like that big city, like mega city kind of vibe. And like Orlando specifically, where it was like by UCF and like the turnpike that goes through and just like the toll roads and stuff like that, it has vibes like that as well. And I'm on top of Rattlesnake Hill right now, which I thought would have actually had rattlesnakes. I'm pretty sure it does have rattlesnake, but not as like openly around as the name probably suggests. There's this like national refuge thing that's like right northeast of Denver. It's actually, the airport's that way, Denver is that way, so it's like in between both of them. I'm known to be crazy, and I don't consider a lot of things that I do kind of crazy, but I feel like me being in this coldness is kind of crazy. So one thing relates to that. People questioned my decision to go the route that I did across America, because I'm hitting all the cold states in the winter, which makes them extra cold, right? And honestly, like, for me to evaluate how much I like the city, if I can't like it in its worst state, liking it in its best state's not gonna mean much. So I'm actually reinforcing my decision to actually go the way that I am, because it gives me a better perspective, I would say, on like the parts of places where people might gloss over, because they're like, oh, Chicago's wonderful in like the spring and summer, but it's like terrible in the winter. A random thing, kind of, a couple days ago was or actually last week now, I think, was my 1 year anniversary at my current job. And like, you know, whenever you're looking for jobs, you never really turn them off, like the notifications after you get a job, because like you never know when you're gonna need a job, and just managing that stuff's super hard, right? It's super intrusive in your life, just like a lot of other things with technology, which we're trying to solve in this problem here, right? But I thought it was funny. Someone reached out to me earlier today about a role, and I definitely came off really like mean, if you will, or like harsh, because they're like, why did you leave your last job? I'm like, because they didn't pay me enough. I like said that super quick and super like intense, and then I like dialed it back with like that we never had enough resources, there's always problems with the project I was on, and you know, things like that. But I think like in general, I have a lower tolerance for bullshit, specifically in work environments and stuff like that. So anyone who's trying to like recruit me for anything, like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, that's just the state of the world right now. There's no need to sugarcoat things and pretend like companies are actually looking out for their employees. Like, there's a few good initiatives across companies that, like, if you're part of them, like, it gives you some sort of like purpose in life. Not purpose per se, but like community and just like support, right? And there's lots of different supports that people need nowadays, specifically, most of it being social and mental. Like, talking about that a little bit more, like, there's been a lot of people that I've met ironically, that are like doing the social and mental support for kids growing up. And I guess like when you're grown up, when you're working, it's like that sort of responsibility falls onto you, but also there's been a lot of push to like have mental health like awareness in companies and in like more of a public setting. I had this idea recently about like how mental health like uh, so mental health is important, right? And I think like the terminology around of it is relatively new, but the concept behind it is really old. And there's been different ways of like dealing with the concept of mental health over the years, and definitely mental health is a Western type of medicine type of term versus like in Eastern medicine, more like natural medicine remedies like Ayurveda and stuff like that. They don't discredit the idea or like the nature of the reality, but they think about the problem completely different. And I think that for us to be as successful in like managing the problem of mental health, like there's been this uh, kind of shift for mental health that like you see that people are more realistic and practical with like what that means, and they're saying like, yeah, we have to have the real conversation as opposed to the coddled conversation. And the reason I bring all this up, and there's obviously that like goes into a whole tangent of things, but as we're using technology, I think it's just interesting to see like the natural progression. And ironically enough, like a few people I've talked to recently, they are doing all the things that I'm saying without me saying it, which was a happy surprise for me to come across them. But they're definitely the minority, and whatever they do for themselves, they don't really like expect other people to do the same. And like the host on my last Airbnb, she was telling me about her brother who's like, I don't know, like 15 years younger than her. It's a half brother that she like her mom had with some other guy, like it's second marriage and stuff. Um, but he's like super young, and he's in that class of kids that are like they throw they throw temper tantrums. I finally got that out. If they don't have technology, and they're like super addicted to it and stuff, right? And she was saying how like she lets her kids use technology and like watch TV's cartoons and like play games and stuff, but like they don't really ask for it, and also like she doesn't let them do it for super long. And just like from like conversations with her, you can tell that she had like a healthy relationship, even though she had like all grown-ups have problems with technology, but like as a mentoring on a kid level, it was a lot easier to balance the problem or like the thing. But it's like coming back to the mental health thing, there's an effect that we're undergoing mentally about when we're using technology that we have to be more conscious towards. And like the central theme in all of this is, if you're in control of your awareness, then you wouldn't necessarily be stuck in the problem of trying to figure out how to balance technology. Like, yes, it's an ongoing struggle on how to balance technology with new things coming around, current things changing, just the environment, the world changing around you. But there's a balance between like keeping things constant, adding new things, and how that relates to your overall like outlook on life. And I think a lot of things out there try to tell you that the little thing, the less things you have in your life, the easier it is to manage, which common sense or conceptually makes sense. And there's a point in all of that relates to values-based technology that I don't know exactly right now. So we'll come back and revisit that in the future. But I know that like last night I took a little bit quote unquote break from like video editing specifically, and I'm like, I know I have things to edit, but like I'm not gonna do it because like I needed the break, and I like it definitely helped me a little bit. So I'm gonna try and like get a healthier relationship with that for right now. But I guess uh, coming back to the point, I think that taking that job on to evaluate what makes sense for your life will just like make the problem of using technology a lot easier. And that's not entirely what I wanted to say, but I guess I had future thoughts. I'm all the way by I-70 right now, which is very interesting. I didn't think I was that far north, but also I don't know how far north I-70 is, and obviously Colorado's like, I would say pretty central inside of the north-south thing. I don't know, man. This was one of those videos where I definitely danced around the topic that I wanted to talk about, but kind of the central theme in my life recently has been, I mean, hearing this from people and just like living this well, but get things working first and then optimize it later, right? And like a large part of me on this trip is just getting it to work, and then obviously processing all the ideas later is a big thing, and then like making it work is a lot easier said than done. And like you guys, I haven't really shown all the things that I'm going through on this trip, and like I know what's in my head, and then when people talk to me, I'm like, oh, are you watching my videos? And then they're like, yeah, and then they're like, but we don't really know what's going on. And then I'm like, oh, I guess yeah, watching those videos alone probably won't get you enough detail. So I don't know. That's why I recently tried to make more of these longer form videos, but as you know, that's a different struggle altogether. So we're working on it. So yeah, a cold Nakumia signing off.